Welcome to the GreatBase Tennis Podcast. I've been told not to say welcome to Not So Great Tennis Podcast. I'm Steve Smith along with Ilja
Semjonovs.
Semjonov.
There we go.
We know we have some tennis parents that listen to these podcasts in the car with their children who play tennis. Say toy boat as fast as you can 10 times. Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat. Our last podcast was about mentoring. And what we're going to do with this podcast is revisit the late Don Meyer. Dave Anderson in the last podcast said that John Wooden was one of his indirect mentors, the late John Wooden, basketball coach. Don Meyer considered Wooden to be his mentor. I know Pat Summitt, who passed away, was so successful at Tennessee. She was mentored by Don Meyer. So I have a few notes here on Don Meyer, but let's just do this for a second. Ilja, you love this stuff. I've known Ilja for almost 10 years now, hanging out with us, done this, that, and the other thing with us, coached here, there, everywhere. Let's go with a little music. It's kind of music that Ilja likes to play in practice. I love it.
That's my alarm clock. That's my music.
That's your
You wake up.
Go ahead.
All right, right here.
I've heard that so many
Rise
times.
and shine. 6 a.m. and your hand can't make it to the alarm clock before the voices in your head start telling you that it's too early, too dark, and too cold to get out of bed. Aching muscles lie still in rebellion, pretending not to hear your brain commanding them to move. A legion of voices are shouting their unanimous permission for you to hit the snooze button and go back.
Yeah, we can come back to that periodically throughout this podcast. With the book, How Lucky You Can Be, the story of the coach Don Meyer, the author Buster Olney, O-L-N-E-Y. I'm fortunate to have a copy of the book written on Don Meyer. Listeners, if you went to the ESPY Awards, go to YouTube, put in Don Meyer ESPY Awards. Funny guy. Very quickly, his life. So many things about his life, but he was about to break the record for most wins in college basketball at the age of 63. One of the Dakotas, North or South Dakota, he's in a car accident and ends up it's a long recruiting trip, and he used to have to drive. He was not running a big budget program, and had to have his leg amputated. Got hit by a tractor trailer. So he gets through that surgery, but what the doctors discovered is he had terminal cancer. So basically his first words are, when can I coach again? And he did coach again, coached in a wheelchair. So for the title of the book, How Lucky You Can Be, with Don Meyer, he has 3 rules. Everybody takes notes. Everybody says please and thank you. And everybody picks up trash. When I think of trash, I tell the story often. I was fortunate enough to have Dennis Vandermeer visit a program I was running every year. And it was about to rain, and 100 plus, we were going into, remember, Jenkins 115, old auditorium that would service, could occupy 100 plus students. So Dennis and I were walking behind the group, and everybody walked by this trash on the side, some McDonald's wrappers and such. So I stepped off the sidewalk and picked up the trash. Dennis was going to say, okay, we'll go talk about doubles. So we got to that classroom. Dennis just spoke for 2 hours about discipline. Said, I don't want to hire any of you. You walked right by the trash. Vandermeer, what he would do years ago is that he would see how you kept your room. And, he had so many contacts in tennis. And if someone wasn't an A, say they were a solid employee, but they were a B, he wouldn't fire them. He'd just find them another job. So anyway, everybody takes notes. Everybody says please and thank you. And everybody picks up trash. That's one thing that's really interesting about junior tennis. For the most part, there's no chalk talks. There's no pencil and paper. They're not writing anything down. Let's go through a few of these things. I have a list of 50. This is, again, Don Meyer Revisited. Promise less and deliver more. Only two things you can control are attitude and effort. It's preferable to have players quit than rather dismiss them. That you just work so hard. Chuck Creasy's been a guest on the podcast in the past. He's going to be on. He's our next guest. We're going to use it. Go do a Dave Anderson theme, Back to the Future. And with that, Creasy used to run Hell Week. And you say the players were so sore they get in the car, they couldn't sit down. But you just find out work people so hard the first week. And that's kind of how the Marines run a workout. Keep pushing you. The people working the hardest, they go to the showers first and see who's going to quit. Because if they couldn't survive Hell Week, they're not going to be there for you in the end. Newspapers, of course, Don Meyer was a basketball coach, so his newspaper is much larger than the coverage for basketball is much larger than that for tennis. Newspapers buy their ink by the barrel, and you buy yours by the pen. It's interesting. My father used to always say this: there's no such thing as a free lunch. Don Meyer. Make each day your masterpiece. That was John Wooden's father's advice to him. Make each day your masterpiece. And like we're trying to do with our educational content, is carry the torch of tennis coaches from the past. John Wooden, this is Jerry Tarkanian. One word, just simplify. Simplify. The more the players think, the slower their feet get. I know
you're thinking is thinking.
If you're thinking, you're thinking. I know the type of work we're in is that people come to see us for technique. There's 3 parts to a tennis player from the neck up. Roger Crawford, who was a guest on the podcast, disabled in all 4 limbs, played Division I tennis. People needed a checkup from the neck up. So that's part 1 of a tennis player. Part 2 is we have to deal with so much of that from the neck to the waist. What are they doing with their arms? What are they grip swing? And then the lower body, but all 3. This is from Dick Bennett. See the picture, sell the picture, paint the picture. You must be the visionary. You must be the pitcher. Sell the vision, sell the picture to your people. And then everyone paints the same picture. This has already been said in a different way, Jack Whitaker. But these are Don Meyer's 50. All greats know how to keep it simple. Braden, don't underestimate the capacity of the learner. Einstein, if you know your subject, you can explain it to a 6-year-old. This is where Vic has made the top 50, Vic Braden. To be a winner, you got to hit the same boring shot. With boring, people listen to podcasts over and over again. If a kid's bored, they're boring. To be bored is to insult one's own intelligence. To be bored is a poor reflection upon the player. And for that matter, the parent, the coach said, okay, we got to make it exciting. Don Nelson, all these are basketball coaches. Less is more. Yes, again with Braden, the kid's method. Don't underestimate the capacity of the learner. So keep it simple, stupid. But people aren't stupid. People have heard this 1,000 times with us. This comes from Don Meyer. 2 kinds of pain: pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Pain of regret lasts a lifetime. This is really important to share. Most parents would rather see their child make all-state rather than win the state championship as a team. I know hockey coaches. We had Mark Costello on, hockey coach. The parents are interested in ice time. Get my kid on the ice. There's so many things. The acronym. There's that comeback with Michael Jordan. Team. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Jordan was said that. He goes, yeah, but there's an I in win. Here's another pearl. This comes from Jerry Krause, speaking of Michael Jordan. But again, this is on Don Meyer's list of 50. Coach now the way you want to be coaching 10 years from now. Young tennis coaches, everyone, they You can just see in the eyes, the kid gets a little bit bored and they're going to make it fun. I said, no, we're going to do more of what you don't like. Tell tennis parents all the time, if your parents don't like practice, it's probably a really good thing. Play a little bit more of that music, about 30 seconds.
Yeah, last time we stopped it, it was right at the part where it was don't press the snooze button.
If you snooze, you lose. Now kids don't have alarm clock, but I used to tell people all the time, get rid of that snooze button.
Yeah.
If you cruise, you lose.
Here you go.
If you coast, you toast.
Here you go, 3, 2, 1.
Back to dreamland. But you didn't ask their opinion. The voice you've chosen to listen to is one of defiance. A voice that says there was a reason you set that alarm in the first place. So sit up, put your feet on the floor, and don't look back, because we've got work to do. Welcome to the grind. For what is each day but a series of conflicts between the right way and the easy way? 10,000 streams fan out like a river.
So good.
Play that during practice. Jeff Jansen, I give credit where credit's due. Survival, the stages of coaching, just trying to hang on, learn, make it through your formative seasons. Okay? People get in tennis, got to hang in there. I once read that if you can survive a boarding camp, a summer boarding camp, you have a chance of possibly being able to survive the tennis industry. Striving for success, trying to win championships, satisfaction. You've had some success, but you put it on cruise control. You start going through the motions. Don Meyer, there's no fire in the gut. Significance. You're more than a coach. You impact lives, influence communities, and make worthwhile contributions to the lives of players, coaches, and others in your circle. 80% of coaches never reach this stage. Spent. There's nothing left in your tank. It is no longer fun, important, or satisfying for you to coach. This is Jim Verdick. Make it big time where you are. One of our pillars. Don't wait until you get the big time job to try to be the best you can be. Your big time, blossom where you're planted. Blossom where you're planted. Frosty Westering offered a great book with this title. Say it again. Make the big time where you are.
Mm-hmm. It's like make it big before you got a big job. I mean, it's if you want to be great, you have to train great. You got to become it.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I was saying I was the greatest when I wasn't the greatest. Don Meyer, biblical teaching, certainly tied into religion. Pray for strength, guide, and forgiveness for each day. I love this one. Build your own army. So today at Wintergreen Resort up in the mountains, about 45 minutes from Charlottesville, the University of Virginia women's team had a retreat. And as we speak, we have a half dozen players are reading their bios, taking notes on their bios. Our players didn't interact. We just were up on our balcony overlooking 3 indoor courts. And again, every girl had a palm up over it. But physical specimens, moving, competing.
Fighters.
Yeah. I heard Matt Clure say that. It was just a conversation with Matt. He works with the USDA now. So it had a lot to do with us over the last 15 plus years. And you first be a fighter, then be an athlete, then be a tennis player. We have it backwards. A lot of times we get people that they look like $1 million hitting forehands and backhands.
Yeah.
On this, build your own army though. So young boy has been here many, many times and he's basically the same age, but hey, if someone has been here as much, it's not a matter of sharing junk food. Let's get the room clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's another Don Meyer. You always leave the locker room cleaner than you found it. I know parents, great parents, kids, they have unconditional love and the parents don't realize they've told their kids so many times to do the same thing. They just start doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing about having kids 24/7. You really, really get to know them.
Going back one of the meetings, It's the same meaning. It's not being too religious here, but it's like one of the meanings, come to Jesus moment, is one of the students today. Like I like what you said, you have to have a heart. You have to have a passion. You have to have a heart.
Hungry.
Yeah.
They're all satisfied. They have had enough food. And, so many of us, are we really looking at days where we're hunger? Hunger is an issue. We're hungry. Is that no? We're satisfied. We got it good. Brady used to always say, "Don't forget the little guy." It's amazing to be authentic. You treat everybody the same. Here's one from Don Meyer, the Godfather: "Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer." You make enemies much faster than you make friends in the coaching world. It's not a popularity contest. I think it's been that way for a long time in schools. A lot of times the great teacher leaves teaching because of lack of discipline. This is another one, Tommy Smith, basketball coach. Who's working for you and you are not there? And I think that's where my Catholic upbringing is, with guilt and manipulation. The parents are working for the kids. It's like your parents, how do we do it when the kids run around the court? We have them saying, hi-ho, hi-ho, off to work we go.
And like how you say, how can you repay your parents? You're not working right now, especially for the youngest ones.
Yeah.
It was a hard work.
Hard work, gratitude.
Yeah.
But hi-ho, off to work we go. And the parents are singing, I-ho, off to work I go. They got to pay for it all, from your hat to your shoes. John Wooden: "I never allowed myself, my staff, or our players to get satisfied." All these big time college football games are being played right now. And as soon as the season's over, even the championship team, like the Nick Sabans of the world, they win and it's okay. We take 24 hours, maybe 48, right back to work.
That's where it goes back to, the win is in the fight. So it's like, you just have to love the fight. If you stop fighting, that's it. You're done. You're not winning. So you're working for that fight.
And great players reminisce. They talk about how hard they worked.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about the victory.
Yeah.
What it take to have the victory. This is interesting. The least used resource in the United States is teamwork. I'm always asking, do you do baskets of balls? Some clubs, they don't really like this, says that it's a policy where you only take 3 balls on the court, 6 balls on the court. You can't, perhaps a family, they're paying membership dues, they're paying court fees, lesson fees, and then they're told they can't take a basket of balls on the court. It's too much of a business.
But that's where you educate yourself. You can do so much with 3 balls. You can do it with 1 ball.
Yeah, if you have to. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
With read each day, watch tape each day. Got to use film. With help the helper, encourage the encourager. Credit those who sacrifice of themselves for the good of the teammates team program. We did this once before, Don Meyer. You can actually you can Google Don Meyer and there's so many things. But the book is good, but these handouts have thoughts and notes. Journal every day. You can have one that's just private, just for yourself. Here's one from John Maxwell. Add value to your life and the lives of others you touch, and you will be invaluable. You always hear that about great athletes. They make everybody better. And to change the culture, change the locker room. We're telling tennis parents, okay, your kid, how good are they going to be in the classroom? How good are they going to be on the track, in the gym, on the court, and then in the locker room?
Uh-huh.
Humility, humor. We got to be able to laugh a little bit. Another John Maxwell. The word average. Best of the worst, worst of the best. You don't. If that, like Holtz, with Coach Holtz, Lou Holtz. If all you can do is get a C, that's great. That's all you can do. That's the best you can do is you get a C. But yeah, don't be average. A T-shirt average sucks. It goes on. There's something I'm skipping here, but pick battles big enough to fight and small enough to win. Don't wrestle with a pig because you both get muddy and the pig likes it. That's from Don Meyer's uncle. With sometimes a good enemy is better than a good friend. A good enemy, that person who's pushing you. Enemy is probably too strong a word, but that opponent, that competitor, the rival. Get up for each game. Sense of urgency, sense of purpose. It's just get up.
Mm-hmm.
Get up. It's like the motivational tapes that you play when we hit balls. Let's go with a few more minutes, 2 more seconds of that. Here you go.
River Delta before you, each one promising the path of least resistance. Thing is, you're headed upstream. And when you make that choice, when you decide to turn your back on what's comfortable and safe and what some would call common sense, well, that's day one. From there, it only gets tougher. So just make sure this is something you want, because the easy way out will always be there, ready to wash you away. All you have to do is pick up your feet. But you aren't going to, are you? With each step comes the decision to take another. You're on your way now, but this is no time to dwell on how far you've come. You're in a fight against an opponent you can't see, but you can feel him on your heels, can't you? Feel him breathing down your neck. You know what that is? That's you. Your fears, your doubts, and insecurities all lined up like a firing squad, ready to shoot you out of the sky. But don't lose heart. Well, they're not.
Yeah, it's great to play music, but when the kids, they show up, and ideally, if you can, you want to start practice before the sun comes up. It'd be great if you could start in the gym, end in the gym, start with fitness, end with fitness. So many of these, and all, a lot of these are written for coaches, but it's the same formula. Don't let your assistants get you fired. You got to push the team from the bottom up, pull it from the top as well. Spend informal time with your coaches and players, meals, trips, games to watch, retreats, spontaneous times. So you're not just a coach, but a person as well. Let's go with a few more of these. Don Meyer Revisited. Have your players sign in daily at practice. Tennis kids, they should come to practice. There should be a clipboard, and they write down what time they got there. Vince Lombardi time. 15 minutes early.
I like that one. I don't remember where it came from, but if you're 5 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late. That's the same one that comes from that. Just hits you differently.
Was a communicator. It's a communicator to get up and be early.
Yeah.
This is powerful. Use 1 minute assignments. I just told a group of Canadian kids. If you do 9 minutes in the morning, 9 minutes in the evening, that's 18 minutes a day. That's 100 hours a year. And that's enough to make a difference. But 1 minute assignment. We do Animal Kingdom. Okay. Can you do the caterpillar? Can you do the frog? Can you do the duck? Can you do the monkey? Can you do the spider? Just go to YouTube. And then if you're not very good at one of them, you got to do it on your own. And you could do it right in the comfort of your own home. Al McGuire. Teach, teach, teach. You have to have good practices. Practices are everything. Greatest strength, greatest weakness. If you only rely on your strength, it will eventually become your weakness. Strive to be a total package player, total package coach. Can you play all over the court? Philosophy, Vic Braden. You need to be able to hit every shot from every position of the court, singles or doubles, any surface. Again, Andy Fitzgerald said this recently. Say you heard it. It's locked in now. Are you interested? Are you committed? Or are you obsessed? Mike Custard on our podcast brought up Joe Gibbs, a great football coach. To win championships, you have to be obsessed about fundamentals. Fundamentals. Again, coming back to Don Meyer's list of 50, it's not what you teach, it's what you emphasize. This is not true in tennis, but basketball. He says, we all teach the fundamentals of the layup. When a player misses a layup, it has to do with 5 push-ups or make the layup. We did that the other day. We had kids throwing foam footballs. And so we have 4 footballs going back and forth, 8 players, and throwing it over the curtain just to help them with their overhead, their serve. And said, all right, if anybody drops a football, everybody's just got to do 1 push-up. And the whole drill changed.
Yeah.
The whole drill changed. They're just so focused. And it was a team thing. Is that everybody is it. Not just the person who dropped the football. Everybody does it.
Yeah, it's got to be a consequence. There got to be a plan, a reward. But sometimes when you're working on the cones, some kids are checking out the range or doing double hits. But you have to create your own games. You have to put your own pressure. Again, going back to Andy Roddick, I practice every time that my mother's life is on the line. I have to create this. I
remember hearing that, Andy Roddick, well, how do you play so well? I play this game that my mother's life is on the line. And there's crazies, that type of thing can happen in real life, but you think about the suspense in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
One more time, it's not what you teach, it's what you emphasize. And it's character first, it's principle. It's the bloody principle. Your character or lack of character will determine whether or not you are credible, believable. Believable as a player, believable as a coach. He talks so much about humility and integrity. That's Thomas Jefferson's 1 and 2 here. With the definite dozen. Be committed to your academics. 3 categories. First one is stay here. Be committed to your academics. Know your catalog. Make a plan. Get a degree. Go to class every day. Sit in the front row. Sit up. Take good notes. Do all the extras. Plan ahead. Talk to the professor. When you travel, let the teacher know. Get connected with tutors. Obviously, he was a basketball coach at the college level. But to stay here, be committed to having class. That was Braden's favorite word. Guys got a ton of class. Treat your teachers, trainers, support staff, food service workers, everybody you meet, treat them with respect. That's something you read about players in the National Hockey League. Is they take care of their trainers. They take care of the support staff. Say, yes, sir, no, sir. This is where it benefit, Always a smile. Thank you. Please. On and on. Be committed to doing the right thing. We have plenty of school rules. Know them. Just try to do the right thing. You'll be okay. Be committed to the program. We realize that our players are in a fishbowl. Every action will be watched. That's one thing about college basketball is every kid's going to see themselves on video. College tennis, they're not watching so much video. But to stay here, to repeat those 4, be committed to your academics, be committed to having class, be committed to doing the right thing, be committed to the program. The next one is to play here. Be committed to hard work. Hockey player Martin St. Louis. It's easy to be the hardest worker.
Mm-hmm.
Just be competitive. I'm going to outwork everybody who's here. Wherever you go, you've got to be the hardest worker. You may not be the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, the tallest, but you can be the hardest worker. Be committed to becoming a smart player. In tennis, if somebody's going to say something about your game, the player has character. The player's got grit. The player's a fighter, that mental side, but then also they're a smart player. Be committed to the team attitude. Attitude is altitude. Commit yourself to a winning attitude. But it's not just game day. It's every day. So to player, be committed to hard work. Be committed to becoming a smart player. Be committed to the team concept, the attitude. Commit yourself to a winning attitude. And the last one, to win here. So to stay here, to play here. Don Meyer, to win here. Believe in our system of play. Tennis is so messed up. A system is an organized plan. Commit yourself to the philosophy, to the system of play. Be a sponge and soak up the concepts. And that's where to people really study content. I tell tennis players all the time, you should be like a quarterback. You're studying. Would you be picked? Obviously, the girls aren't playing football, but would you be picked to be the quarterback? It's like, would you be picked to be the guard, bringing the ball down in basketball? So believe in our system of play. Believe in yourself. Believe in your teammates. Believe in your coaches. Why don't you play a little bit more? Don Meyer.
There you go. Off halfway here.
Not easily defeated, they are far from invincible. Remember, this is the grind, the battle royale between you and your mind, your body, and the devil on your shoulder who's telling you that this is just a game. This is just a waste of time. Your opponents are stronger than you. Drown out the voice of uncertainty with the sound of your own heartbeat. Burn away your self-doubt with a fire lit beneath you. Remember what we're fighting for and never forget that momentum's a cruel mistress. She can turn out a dime with the smallest mistake. She is ever searching for the weak place in your armor. That one tiny thing.
Now, where do players or coaches find the tape that you're playing? It's only 3 minutes long. That's your alarm in the morning, huh?
Yeah, every day. It's got to go to sleep too. Get pumped.
Pumped for sleep.
Yeah.
But how do you find that?
This one is on.
You have all sorts of them that you play.
Yeah. There's so much stuff on YouTube, but this one is called Rise and Shine. So if you're just gonna type in Rise and Shine motivation, you will get the video for it. It's just 3.5 minutes long, but it's so powerful. Just the voice, everything, it pumps you up. Every time I hear it, it just gives goosebumps. It's great. It's a cold shower.
Patrick McEnroe about the Bryan brothers. They get pumped up for breakfast with my late mother, 6 children. She used to tell people all the time, my favorite day of the year is when kids go back to school. The house becomes a little quieter. And she actually would have a party. First day of school, she would have a party at her house. School starts at 8:00. Her party started at 8:30. And she used to just tell people, that's my favorite day of the year. She used to always just say, what was I thinking? I should have run away and joined the convent. The nuns don't have 6 kids. But Don Meyer, mentor, why don't you give me a favorite or two that you heard from that, going through these notes?
I wrote it down. Pain of discipline, pain of regret. I think this is, I mean, we all struggle with that, but understanding pain of discipline is less than pain of regret. And it's a scary thought. So it's like, no, wake up early.
Yeah, Mark Twain.
Things.
You could live backwards if we could be born at age 80. Time management. We've met the enemy is us.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the world has the same amount of time, 24 hours. With the mind vitamins, we go around the room with kids and say, give us a mind vitamin. With time management, close connection between getting up in the morning and getting up in the world. If you get up before everybody else, you own the world.
Mm-hmm.
What other? Give me a couple mind vitamins.
Here you go. Train today like you have already mastered tomorrow.
Train today like you've already mastered tomorrow. With, I think, banking hours.
Mm-hmm.
Time management, having that. It doesn't mean that quantity is the only solution, but early on, quantity is what wins in tennis. The kid who's hit the most balls, Jimmy Everett, whoever hits the most balls, Chrissy's father, generally becomes the best player. Jim Lair, the kid who hits the backboard, that's their drug. It's that feeling, the ball coming off the strings. They've got to hit balls. They love to hit balls.
Yeah.
Those people that are making changes in the game. You brought up a couple great students. I'm just telling them all the time, you got to be a myelin farmer.
Mm-hmm.
The You don't lose a bad habit. You have to override it with a new habit. And so breaking a habit, it's just amazing how people will get locked in. And I hope that's why parents have their kids in tennis, where they learn the work ethic that will transfer to any endeavor they pursue the rest of their life. I know people will say, gee, I can work a few hours. I got bad advice when I was a kid for ice hockey is in the summer, just keep running, just go run. And we were jogging with no coaching. But I lived on this lake, and it was 9.4 miles around the lake, and we had another 0.6 of a mile. So I'm running 10 miles. LSD, long, slow distance. Wasn't necessarily the best. It's a character developed. Have people, and I don't like the fact that these physical trainers in tennis say, no, don't ever run distances. Your sport's anaerobic.
No, it's a mind builder. That's a character builder.
Yeah, I like the Russian philosophy where you're going to be mentally tough through fitness.
Yeah.
Some of the Russians, I mean, if I coached one Russian kid, if somebody's not vomiting, it means it wasn't a good workout.
Yeah.
Just pushing people.
Nah, I mean, if you're going for a long distance run, I would say 5K for younger ones. I mean, set up a goal and just picture it. You can get into meditative state. Just okay. So especially if you ran it before and you have your time, you run and you just picture it. Like, what are you willing to give for your vision, for your goal? And you're just running and you're just getting extra, So it builds you up, and it builds your strength for your goal, for your love for your goal. It becomes more real. You care for it more.
Oh, and if you can push through that euphoric high, it feels so much better after you've done it.
Yeah.
You're definitely playing with someone's psyche. We tell all these kids, here are the routines, make the routines rules. Now, you can't do every routine every day, but you got to do the routines. And there has to be, okay, these are the 5 go-tos, getting up, doing push-ups. But if you don't do it, and the coach has told you to do it, like say Rafa, break the comfort zone, he takes an ice cold shower before he goes out. You said that wakes the brain up.
Yeah, it releases dopamine. It's like your brain, it's some adrenaline, some dopamine, so you're more alert, and you're in a much better mental state.
I don't like cold showers. Ivan, who helps us so much, he takes these cold showers. I said, how long have you been doing that? He goes, well, when you told me that's what Nadal does, I've been doing it every day since. Yes, he has so much discipline. But I told him I'm an old man. I said, I still think I've taken more cold showers than you. I lived in a van for 2 years. We have a podcast. Actually, we did. We talked to Johnny Valenti about living in a van. The first year, I was playing tournaments. And the second year, I just traveled to watch people teach tennis. And I get a little bit disappointed with young kids. We're giving them information that I certainly gathered from Vic Braden. So I went through Vic Braden's course, USTA, United States Tennis Academy. And the USTA asked them to drop the acronym so they could they were the USLTA. So I remember I got 188 questions right out of 200. But I went back the very next one. They used to run 2 a year. And then one time it was just 1 a year. But the late Tommy Fye, the Roosevelt Hotel, was, he was asking Nick Baltier questions, and Fye's hand just kept going up. He asked about angles. And he got the late Baltier to say, I don't care about angles. God gave me eyes to see tennis. There's a lot of things I love about Baltier. And so, but I just knew I was with Danny Cooper, who's a lawyer now in Montreal, but he spent a lot of years with 15 maybe. He worked for Vic in Europe. And he was somebody who was just obsessed to learn how to teach the game at a high level. So I just knew it was Fye asking these questions on the other side of this auditorium. It was a ballroom. It was turned into a modified tennis court. Went right up to him and said, hey, you work for Vic Braden? He goes, yeah, how'd you know? I said, I just tell about your questions. And then he told me how you get on the staff at Braden. So I went back hook, line, and sinker. And I was living in a van. And I remember I got 197 questions. I can tell you I get these wrong. I was told that true or false, you stop on half volleys or run. I say true, I guess. You move through half volley. I get the answer wrong. true or false is 40 all deuce. I put true. 40 all is not deuce, it's 40 all. The umpire says. And then the other one was a scissors on the serves. I called it down together, up together, because you had to do analyze film on this test. But to work for Uncle Vic, everybody got to know him. He was like favorite uncle. That I lived in the van, and I got a job bartending at not a hard, heavy duty bar, but a pizza pub place. But there's still, back in the day, smoke. Back then I had hair, so the hair and the clothes, it was reeking smoke. So I used to have to, it was illegal, but a couple swimming pools I hit with a bar of soap. I mean, the place closed at 1 a.m, and Vic worked at 6. So I was there at 5:45 with bells on, working as a volunteer initially. And so I would say, obsessed to learn more about how to teach forehands and backhands. And so I could go through my drive for that. And then you're giving this information on a golden, not a silver platter, but a golden platter. And it's in one ear, out the other. How about food? What comes to your mind when I think you say food? I'll say food, and we'll talk a little bit about the discipline here.
Well, have you food like a rainbow?
Food like a rainbow?
Yeah.
And how's it go? A moment on your lips, forever on your hips.
Yeah.
I think it's tougher to push away the chocolate chip cookies than it is to go run 5 miles. But we talked about that with New Year's resolutions with food. Food for thought. But, if kids have to, you think about these people who are running triathlons and what they have to do to prepare food. But it starts with players in their early years. You watch kids eat, and I always tell a story about Tony McGee, played for Michigan, tight end. Tony McGee, I've talked to him a long time. I coached his daughter. He started in the NFL for the Cincinnati Bengals for 11 years. He's the one who told me the NFL stands for not for long, because he was on one end, he'd have his feet one way, and the other side, he'd have his feet the same way. And his coach said, switch your feet. He goes, no, coach. I do it the same way. No, switch your feet. You know what the NFL stands for, not for long. But it was Desmond Howard. He's his first day, Tony McGee in the Michigan cafeteria. He gets a piece of chocolate cake, and the upperclassman calls everybody over, who is this guy? Is this guy going to play for us? He's on our team. He's eating that. Called the coaches over, and kid's 18 years old. And there is, psychology to food. I mean, you really can offend people when you say, hey, don't eat that. Being with kids 24/7, you take them to a grocery store, and you come back and you say, okay, everybody, you got a beach towel, lay out the big towel. This is when there's been times where people buy their own food. Done it many different ways, and it's amazing.
Oh yeah, I remember. I've been around that too.
Yeah, you've been around that
with the baskets, see-through baskets. It's like
no, we've had doctors work with us, nutritionists. I was thinking of this one player. I'm at a grocery store, 14 years old. He's away from home for the first time. All the years that he went to the grocery store with his mom, he didn't realize that she got a basket. So he has no basket. This wasn't, what is it called? We're making, it's graham crackers, chocolate, marshmallows.
Marshmallow, yeah.
S'mores,
yeah.
Yeah, s'mores. So, and I go, what are you looking for? I need marshmallows. You are a marshmallow.
He was committed.
You are a marshmallow. All these quotes, Jim Lair, the problem today is the marshmallows need to be sweeter and the pillows need to be softer. With running, what comes to your mind when you think running? I mean, you just tell people one word. I worked at this one academy, traveled to help the academy out. They had their thing was they had 50 keywords, and occasionally they would change them. What comes to your mind when you think of running?
The toughest step is the first step out of the door.
Yeah, you need to have a running program. I remember working with Vicky Duval. I had worked with her brother Cedric, and on her own accord, I had worked with Cedric from Haiti, and he'd always walk around and shadow swing really efficient strokes. And she said, I need to go and work on my technique. So she did. She wanted to get in the US Open. I said, best thing for you to do is we have this all on film, take several months off and go play San Diego, win San Diego. And she did. And she got into the US Open that way. But I remember just giving her years of, like 10:30, 10:45, late at night, kids needs to go to bed, getting up early next day. I'm going, you don't have a running program. Da, 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 da. And next thing I know, I hear the door shut. She went out running.
Yeah. One-time rule.
Yeah. Kids, do they run on their own? We had two players here from such and such state and, 14-year-old boy and 14-year-old girl, and they run the beep test. And it's okay. I like the idea, give them the test first and less than second. So the girl beats him in the beep test. And I said, no problem. I said, so I let the next day go by. They didn't say anything to her. I just asked him, I said, you got up early and went for a run this morning, right? No. I go, well, how are you going to beat this girl in the beep test? That's amazing. Kids go to tennis practice on a team setting and, they're number 8 and they want to crack the lineup with 6 players. And it's like, you're just doing what everybody on the team does. You got to do extra. So then the second day, that's when he's, it's the lesson. The lesson has been given. Did you go running? And they look at you like you're stupid. And I was like, no, you're stupid. How are you going to, and it's a build-up process. It's not, something, I'm going to be good on the beep test tomorrow.
Yeah.
You got to build it up.
You also have to feel like what's on the line, and Andy Fitzel, you got to be obsessed. What's on the line. It's your tennis life is on the line. And if you don't put it.
That's a strong line. I used to tell people all the time, we're trying to save your tennis life. Roberto Carlos was for 15 years. No, Steve, you're trying to save their life. I think that's a little bit much, but when it comes down to some juniors, you can play tennis for a lifetime, but they do have a deadline. I know Jeff Lewis, who's with us forever, way back when he was a kid, I got a goal at 18. And, mom and dad can write a check for any tournament. They can find a tournament for you. Again, coming back to the team from Virginia, the women being up here today, we're doing this right now. But I'd like to recap that because they have to have their notes. Those girls, it's kind of like how do you get into Harvard? Starts in kindergarten. You got to achieve the whole way through. Study, practice. But even though, these gals, okay, they could do a little bit better with the volleys, a little bit better with the overhead, but certainly have respect for people to get to that level, to get beyond that level. And again, some of the circumstances, I was asked by a gentleman who was watching, and I said, well, I'm always talking about the days of old when Stan Smith or Arthur Ashe, you couldn't play as a freshman. All these key words, but it was called your developmental year. Junior development programs, that's what it was called. Junior development. What comes to your mind when you think of the word development?
Well, you have to have a pathway. You have to have a plan for development, and hope that it's a good plan. Again, as you mentioned before, when you were 10, somebody told you just go run 10 miles. But at the end, if you work hard, they're going to be positives. So as long as you're just working hard, like again with the girls, they didn't have a plan, but they're fighters. But if there would be somebody who would just tell them, hey, the grip in the racket on the overhead. So development, development takes place in stages as well. And sometimes, again, gotta love the process, and the process will love you back.
GreatBase, just a name, comes from Richard Hernandez. Tennis needs a GreatBase initiative. Foundation, fundamentals, skills. There's so many different ways to say that. Andy Fitzell's always told me, no, we don't want to be pigeonholed. Because people don't, we're just for beginners. Ideally, though, if people were to start sooner, Jim Richards, a smart guy, Englishman. I remember him telling me years ago is that there was a coach in Miami who was very, very successful with 12 and 14-year-old players. And, they didn't do so well after that. But you got these young players to really compete. Really compete. The old line was, if you're going to war, I'm going to pick that kid. But what Jim said is that people should go that route first. Really learn to compete. Like what Matt Glore says, okay, be the fighter first, the athlete second. That's tough too now with people in tennis just playing one sport. But to develop, just a name, it's gone from junior development to academy.
Yeah.
That's just the word,
Somewhere in between have to be a school.
What's that?
Before academy, they have to be a school.
Preschool, pre-academy.
Yeah, pre-academy.
Most kids are not ready for an academy. Don't be too cool for school. And then people don't want to do the basics.
They're wired differently. Just have to, again, awareness, acceptance, commitment.
Yeah, the USTA, so many great causes, great people. Don't learn to play to learn. You have to really do both, the sandwich effect. You can't just play to learn. Braden used to say, don't use the word natural. People don't naturally play. Some things may come easier to some than others, but people aren't, he's just got a natural service motion. Perhaps a little bit of luck, but, the hours, that's something with, again, the girls that were visiting here and say, well, I'm sure every one of them would like to play pro tennis and, take 10 steps back, take the 100 steps forward. If I was a college coach, and I have been connected to college tennis in many ways, I would want to have people come in and redshirt the first year, and they have freshmen that the rule was in place for that years ago, but have freshmen that would be in the lineup, but the rule wouldn't let them play. But I don't need the rule. You're going to come here. You're going to take this 1 year and work on your skills. But in tennis, especially on the men's side, is that a lot of coaches will bring a player in January. They're right in the lineup. I think really emphasizing that with the half dozen kids we had watching today is we got connected by circumstance. Okay? The kids playing at a big time ACC school like Virginia, college tennis found them. They didn't find college tennis, and they're gonna tell us in the morning when we talk to them is that everyone had a national and international background, and certainly you have from that school Daniel Collins and Emma Navarro. I watched. Two of the girls are playing here today. They won the national doubles in the fall. I was watching that. They were down, but they came back. What comes to your mind when you think of scoreboard?
That's the only thing that juniors are focusing on. Again, you manage by numbers, 5 S's, self-management numbers.
Yeah. Let's go through
production.
Let's go through the 5 S's, but scoreboard. Don Meyer is, certainly you want to win the game, but did you win the hustle? Did you win banking the hours? Did you win, being the best practice partner, best back practice player you could? Yeah, let's do the tennis mat. That's a review for these podcasts. So what are the 5 S's? What's number 1?
Self-management.
Self-management. This is an original. I don't have too many originals. What's second S?
Stroke production. Numbers.
So there's math. There's numbers for all these. So it's for strokes. How about the next one?
Strategy.
So you've been obsessed studying our content. Actually, the thing is you've lived it. And that's what you have to do. Whether you're, seriously, even a parent. A parent really has the time. If they're taking a kid to tennis, there's a lot of downtime. They should be listening to some of these podcasts while their kid's playing. instead of climbing the fence, go, what's the score? What's
Yeah.
the score? Who's winning? So self-management, stroke production strategy, and
Stats.
then they forget 1, 2, 3, and 4 and go 4.
Score. That's score.
And then it's not that, it's not only that, but it's the ranking, the UTR.
Mm-hmm.
What's your UTR for what you do before you go to school? What routines? Does your mom still get you up?
Something else comes to my mind. It's the scoreboard. You mentioned it before. It's like if you're playing a match, can you imagine if your thoughts would be on a scoreboard right on top and everybody could see it? What is your inner voice?
Well, the one thing about the inner voice is it's an interesting thing. No one ever hears it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people play, generally there's an outer voice to it. And people's self-talk, especially in singles, it's not original. I'm so bad. I suck. I'm playing the worst tennis of my life. I can't believe it. The tennis player just passed away, the Aussie Wimbledon champion, said, I watched him play in the seniors. Misses a shot and he yells out, I can believe it. Neil Frazier. Neil Frazier. I can believe it. But actually when people are playing doubles, they're pretty good. Like they say to the partner, no problem, right here, we got it.
Mm-hmm.
No problem, right here, we got it. And, clearing the computer, playing the next point, with Wintergreen, they're interviewing people to work here, and a gentleman was in who's coached basketball, and it was really interesting talking to him. We didn't talk tennis, but he said that his philosophy, his system, is a kid plays 4 minutes in, they take 2 minutes off, and he works out a formula where everybody's playing, and his bench becomes stronger, but the kid doesn't think they're being taken out because they miss a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard many basketball coaches say this, is that it's tougher to coach tennis. Not only are you coaching 6 matches at one time, basketball, it's just at one court. It's not 6 courts. But you can't take someone out and say, okay, hey, you just have to sit you down for a minute and say, you're getting beat this way by the person who's covering you. But it's pretty interesting. He says that most coaches, they take you out if you miss a few shots. Then the kid feels, tight. Should they get back out there and shoot again and say, hey, no, you're going to miss. Just come back. I'm talking to you. You put you right back in. The thing everybody plays. Don Meyer. What else you got? Let's go with stroke production.
There you go. Make technique your obsession. Every masterpiece begins with a strong foundation.
Yeah, the thing here with Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
Obsessed with fundamentals. With that, people are not. People don't really. Junior players, they're not asking about grips. Getting the racket hit below the ball.
Well, number one, they think they know, but they don't know.
Yeah, there's an art. There's an art to drop hitting a ball. This is how you're going to drop hit an underspin backhand. There's an art form to it, but they think they've already mastered it at that level. Most kids, they're in the game 3 years, 4 years, and they don't realize they're still closer to the beginning. It's such a long journey. But Don Meyer Revisited. Let's go with a couple more. How about belief? Ted Lasso, believe. What do you got for that? What comes to your mind?
Well, if you got to believe it first. You got to see it. You got to believe it first. If you don't believe it, nobody will. That comes in something that you got to believe. Actually, another one, you just got to know. Just got to know. Have your goal.
And one thing with this podcast, told a group of players, said, okay, we want you to listen to this podcast that we're going to make. It's going to follow one we had on mentoring. It's going to be a little intro with Don Meyer, and write down as many things like this right here, this formula, 1, 2, 3. 1, to be a great player, is your inner belief system. 2 is your work ethic. 3 is knowledge.
Yeah.
Those three. If people were to know our content, we would say, okay, tell us Jim Lair's. You could even give him the acronym TAC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you could say, okay, explain Jim Lair's competitive circle, and either they know it or they don't.
Yeah.
And most young tennis players are free in the sense that they're not thinking about anything. And that's where you want people to be. You want them to be free of technique. Vic Braden, in a match, if you're thinking about technique, you'll finish second in a field of two. So but we're telling someone, okay, on the underspin backhand, play it cross court, balls traveling slower, balls in flight, you're in movement, you get closer to the net, the trajectory keeps the ball low, and then you're giving your opponent less pace. They get about 50% of their pace from your opponent's incoming ball. So it's good to take speed off, close in. And we drop hit and underspin backhand in the beginning of practice, that pie graph, 5%, 10%, even people who've been working with a long time. And that's where the GreatBase, if people are really going about the right way, you're not so interested in success in the 12s. You want to learn to compete. But you want to be able to play all over the court. And no one really is interested in who the best 12 and under players are.
Mm-hmm.
But do they know that? So Jim Lair, the center of the circle, you should be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
This deals with heart rate. And the opposite of being challenged is being threatened. Your ego kills. So then, and I didn't know this for the longest time, but choking is positive. In Pete Sampras's book, freezing, you're just frozen. You can't even move. You can't even play. But Arthur Ashe, all these quotes, the person who wins is the person who chokes the least. Arthur Ashe, everybody chokes. The person who wins is the one who chokes the least. So you go from challenge to choke, and your heart rate goes up. People don't like it when their heart rate goes up, and they get frustrated, even to a point where they get angry. So that's the TACC. So working backwards, it's challenge, choke, anger. And then when people are angry, the heart rate goes way up. And then they withdraw, they tank.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, we had a player visiting here, known her coach 30 years, and the coach met with the mom and said, hey, I need your permission to just tell your player you're out of practice right now, because it's a mini, just even when there's a mini tank where they drop their shoulders and they give up. But our expectations, the opposite of expectations, we tell kids, your parents, they'll be disappointed. Vic Braden used to say that anger covers hurt. And when I ask kids all the time, every hand goes up. Raise your hand if your parents have ever been upset with you. And of course, every hand goes up. And I just tell them that you've hurt them. And the reason they're angry, they expected it. The expectations were for you to do this. But the disappointment, you disappointed him, and this is what you did. But Don Meyer being a basketball coach, and it does apply to being a tennis coach. Why don't we just end by going through this? Is that the target? What comes to your mind with target?
Well, you have to set targets. You have to have right targets. Understanding the target. So it's just going back to, do you know your targets? That would be it. Your 5 targets on the court. That's what comes down. I just see 5 targets. I see 5 orange targets right now.
Yeah. So how many times have you put those targets on the court? Braden used to say 4x4 in the corner and aim for the corner, the inside corner, 16 square feet. So I would say that we're purists, but we have 3.5 feet, just so we can say, hey, dummy, you got 20 feet in the middle. The court's 27 feet wide. So you flank the percentage post to each sideline, 3.5 feet in from sideline to baseline. So you got 20 feet in the middle. If you're on the right side of the court, you hit the ball on the right side of the net strap, you will not miss long.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 places you can miss, and you're in the defense or neutral area. So the GreatBase is the language. Are you going to center the ball? if you can go out, I tell people all the time, if you can play 6-3, 6-3 with someone and you listen to me, I'll get you to beat that person. Now, again, this is junior tennis. It's like just center balls.
Yeah.
With the 5 targets, but it's not their IQ. Kids are highly intelligent, but the EQ, the emotional quotient, is when they start to play those targets. They just go. In junior players, I know sometimes the parents, if your opponent's in this corner, hit to the other corner. They're always trying to hit it away from their opponent.
Yeah. But knowing targets, you have a math. It's interesting. Like some players who show up, and you're asking them, like, okay, there's 4 places you can miss on the tennis court. And if you ask them what the first target, which place you don't want to make which mistake you want to eliminate first, and most of them go net. And then without even telling them, okay, let's come up in here to doubles alley, and you're playing a match with somebody in doubles alley. Now tell me where you don't want to miss the ball. They're like, wide. Like, okay, so now when you're standing on the tennis court, it looks gigantic. So your brain does not make a calculation. That means you don't know how the tennis court looks like. And when they know that, then under stress, that just makes so you have a math formula in your head. Under stress, it goes there. Yeah,
Vic Braden, Tennis for the Future, 1977. One of the opening sentences is, people think the tennis court's gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And from the outside corner, down the line, cross court, singles, it's 19.1 degrees. We're always saying less than 20 degrees. So again, this podcast, Junior asked today, because now we have 231 podcasts. I said, what podcast should I listen to? I said, why don't you listen to the next one? And we just had one on mentoring. And so I called people, we were in the classroom, and I just read a few Don Meyer lines to them. And so then the juniors, some of the parents or coaches listening to this podcast, make it a short one, but if they could just write down, number 1, inner belief system. Number 2, work ethic. Number 3, if they were going to be tested on it, and that's where parents and private coaches like ourselves, we don't have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep telling kids over and over again, that's where the team coach, well, sorry, we're going to put you down on JVs. We're not going to keep you this year. We're going to cut you. Come back next year. But we've had a lot of kids in the years from South Africa. The Afrikaners are very disciplined, strict parents, like Roger Federer's mother. And hey, every time you go out for a sandwich, get a napkin, draw a tennis court, and put down these 5 targets.
Yeah.
And so the other one is 5 feet in from the center mark of the baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Vic Braden asked Billie Jean King, if you could hit every shot right there, what would happen? She thought about it for a short period of time. She said, you never lose.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not, trying to paint the lines. If you could hit the ground stroke over that 5-foot line, junior tennis, it's a big target. So between the center mark, it's right in front of the hash mark, and the percentage post, which is 3.5 feet, you could drive a truck between the two of them. So then the language, path of the racket, path of the target,
mm-hmm.
long hitting zone. And, to know the target. But people in tennis, they see their target through the net.
Mm-hmm.
And so they think the target's low, and they think the target's gigantic, as you said. But again, these South African kids, this is a discipline. You go out to have a sandwich with them, and they're all doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just respect the lesson, respect the coach. That's so much of the philosophy of the late Don Meyer. With basketball, the target, you climb up on a ladder, and 2 basketballs will go through the hoop at one time. It looks like an optical illusion. The tennis court, optical illusion. The tennis court's long, narrow field, 3 feet short of being
3
times longer than it is wide. 3 feet short of being 3 times longer than it is wide. So 27 and 78. So you add 3 feet to 78, you get 81. You multiply 27 3 times, you get 81. But a basketball hoop, when kids are shooting, and you look at someone at the foul line, like a Michael Jordan standstill shot, but that's part of their sport.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a kid do standstill, static balance, and they look at you like, no, I'm too good for this now, coach. Or I give them the Michael Jordan speech. You can't put baskets on this other side. Can you get the ball up and in the basket? But so we have this short video of young kids dropping tennis balls into a basketball hoop. And I tell people all the time, set up your garage and, get one of those. I tell people to contact you on teaching aids because the little mother, as the called the twister, the little mother, because his mother used to toss him balls. Dennis was so creative. He would take the twister and show you all the different drills you could do with it. He'd set it up on a ball basket. You'd have cones and footwork and imagination. It's creative knowledge. So with, you say from baseball, you could buy.
Yeah, baseball. You type in an Amazon baseball ball machine, you're going to get it for $50. Same ball machine for tennis is going to be $250.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That makes this podcast worthwhile. But kids need to understand that on a tennis court, your target is high and elevated. Braden, it's a lifting game. But I guess we give some of our listeners a break by having a short podcast, but we have some juniors. We're going to have them watch this podcast. Let's go back and you give 3, I'll give 3. Usually we just do 1, but you give me 3 and I'll give you 3. That we should hear these kids say when we say, okay, this group is here. Okay, we're going to have you listen to podcast 231. And what are you going to put in your notebook? A student of the game. I'll go first. Is that, 1, 2, 3. Number 1 is your inner belief system. And if you don't believe in yourself, who will? Hey, Ted Lasso, believe. When people say that they believe, for example, they believe in the Braden method, Vic would not want to hear that. You would say there's no such thing as a Braden method. Galileo was here a long time before us. Galileo and Newton were here a long time before us. It's the method of physical law, method of efficiency. But number 1, inner belief system. Number 2, work ethic. Number 3 is knowledge. Go ahead, you give me one.
I will go with another 3 rules that's used. Number 1 would be do the opposite what you want to do. Number 2, one-time rule. And 3, be different.
Yeah, those are our 3 rules. Do just the opposite. Put that phone away. Do just the opposite what you want to do. 2, your parents, they just have to tell you one time and then you do it. And then the 3rd is be different. It's different if you're getting up in the morning, you're doing a routine before you go to school. Hey, you brush your teeth, but hey, I'm going to do this. If people are following our program to the nth degree, this is what they do. Twice a day. You can do it just right here with John. I'm John Wooden. It's with Don Meyer. 1 minute assignments. Just do this for 1 minute. People, that we're coaching, at our level, can you do 1 minute of push-ups? So hang a string from the ceiling of your outstretched arm, put a little wad of tape. You don't have to have any Velcro and a tennis ball attached, no flyaway ball, just a little piece of tape up your outstretched arm and racket. And you put up mirrors. You make a poster of the word picture method. And then you get a tripod and a camera and then a practice log. And if you just do 1 minute, Graydon Oliver, he didn't coach tennis very long, but he's somebody who worked with Dave Anderson and myself in Florida a long, long time ago. And then he was connected with one of our students, Craig Tiley at the University of Illinois. So he started coaching, and when he was coaching, he was calling me up. And he wasn't coaching very long, but he had it down, like how many reps can you get in where it's, say if a serve is 6 seconds, you break it down, well, you do 10 per minute. And say how many you do it with quality, are you switched on? But then you ask kids who do that, and it's like the Green Beret, the Ballad of the Green Beret, 100 tested, 3. 3 or become members of the Green Beret. And how many kids play college tennis? A little less than 3%.
Yeah.
Give me another one.
I'll just go that consistency is a skill. And that will go, we have a group of kids in here, and at home, I asked all of them to do this DMP thing, that's what they're doing. And it's just 2 minutes. Just do it. It's consistency. Like, you have to think about it and you got to do it. You're responsible for your game. This is under 2 minutes and you just got to do it. Right now they're here. They have their phones. All of them have phones. And what happens? Their parents are not there. Nobody's reminding them. And it's like they're missing out. So consistency, again, going back to consistency skill, it sort of relates to what's happening on the court. Staying in the rally. Don't miss. So right now, I would see that if they're not doing a certain thing, what they have to do, like, for example, this DMP thing, that's unforced error. And if their brain is okay with enforced errors, that means they're consistent with enforced errors. So it's all going to be related to the tennis court. Simple little things like that. So again, consistency is the key. Cherish it.
Roger Crawford said that on a podcast, is there is no perfection, but there is consistency. And by the way, going back, Graydon Oliver, I have our fact checker get on it, but I'm pretty sure he played on every major court, Wimbledon, US Open, did really well in doubles. Student athlete, you're a student first, an athlete second, get your homework done. But just to have people go through the juniors to go through these. We don't do this anymore. I haven't done it in a long time, but okay. Sit down next to somebody. So you get two players sitting next to each other. All right. It's kind of like, you're going to grade my paper, I'm going to grade your paper. Get your phones out. Let's just go yesterday. How many text messages did you send yesterday? How many text messages did you receive? Now it's like, well, you're violating, it's like, oh, their privacy. Then they, ask kids how much screen time they had. And the older kids, I mean, it is amazing. The YouTube clips are like potato chips. You can't eat just one. You can't watch just one. You get that sidebar. But, for example, the students that we were working with, like if I came back and said, okay, tell me Jim Lair's, they just got to learn more about themselves. Tell me Jim Lair's competitive circle. And then the choking, the heart rate going up, and the choking's a positive. Everybody chokes. But really to be students of the game, Bobby Fischer, he's one of those guys who was too smart for school, but he wasn't too smart to teach himself six different languages. Only lost one time, but he was 19 years old, and the Russians took him out partying. He had too much vodka. That's where he lost. But he learned 6 different languages so he could study chess. Mm-hmm. And the late Robin Williams, tennis is 60 miles an hour, chess at 60 miles an hour. There's not as much chess as people think, though. If you can hit the ball deep and you get the short ball, then you just go up to the net and do the math. We ask questions. You ask a kid, okay, and they just don't know. So that's where, again, is watching the Virginia gals play today, great players, but we're watching their doubles, we're watching them volley. And in our school of thought, and we ask somebody, okay, do you know the geometry of the court? 130 degrees from the net, or 3 feet from the net, 3 feet from the net, 130 degrees volume potential. That study comes from Braden, Jacobson, 2 out of 3 at the net, turns into 4 out of 6, 8 out of 12, managed by stats. So geometry, statistics. But I think what happens many times in American tennis, I think the Canadian coaches, because we have so many Canadians come here, that the junior just thinks the coach needs to know the information. Uh-huh. They don't think they need to know the information. But let's wind this down. Why don't you give me one more thought? We'll write it on the bathroom wall and we're done.
As Richard Hernandez said, no writing on bathroom wall on this podcast. The last one, again, just going from so many mind vitamins, Don Meyer. So I'll finish on the third one, mind over matter. And just even to break it down, what does it mean? Mind, you can break it down in 3 parts. Mind, it's your brain, it's information. Your heart, it's a passion and love, what's important to you, your goals. And gut, do you have a gut to fight what's important for you with the right information? And if you put those 3 things together, mind over matter, So whatever is out there.
No, that's great. I think talking to the coaches I know over all these years is most coaches that we work with, they know that they didn't have this information as when they were coming up. It was more trial and error. And some things you're just told the wrong things.
That's why I tell juniors that we coach, I'm like, I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous. I didn't have this information.
Yeah.
It was just.
I like this one: run, hit, compete, and then have the player rate themselves. What are you best in those three areas? Same thing is it's the same question basically. Mind, mobility, mechanics. Rate yourself, and then if say for example mobility, and that'll happen to us is that we get these kids come in and there's such. I'll use a strong word. They have a horrendous, another one, awful technique, and. So we get the skip ropes out. We say, you got to do this, you do that. Okay, we'll do some agility drills with basketball. But I mean, even we have had many kids do it where they become number one in the country. You need to take 6 months off. You don't need to compete for 6 months. You're only 13. And I do think with most junior tennis players, fortunately, changing their strokes is the most difficult thing they've done in their young life. And do they really get after it? And it's not easy. Breaking comfort zones. But anyway, we did this podcast for everyone. I hope people listening got something out of it. The small group that we had, we're going to have them listen to it. We kept it short because of that. Take notes, and we'll get back to. We do have quite a few people that reprimand me if we have a short podcast. This is a pet peeve. I have so many, but. Here's one I see all the time. We film overheads, and the kid just stands right inside the baseline because they know approximately that's where they're going to be when they hit an overhead. I mean, never do we have a kid stand up close and move back for the overhead, come in, touch the net. Never. It's like they just stand, okay. It's kind of like they're in a high chair and say, feed me. So again, this podcast is for everyone, but with our group, hopefully they can get something out of it. If we were a little more organized, we could still do that. Just take the podcast. We've got say it's for simple math, a 60-minute podcast, 6 players. You listen to the first 10 minutes, you listen, and then be a team. Some of the things we heard from in going through Don Meyer's notes. But thank you, Don Meyer. Thanks, coaches from the past. Thank you, Coach Ilja. Thanks, listeners. Why don't we just exit this podcast with a little bit more of the type of music you play sometimes during our morning practices.
Yeah. No, again, before that, thank you. Thank you, Steve, for having me again. And thank for everyone. But here we go.
Ilja, the total package coach. Here we go.
Forgot to prepare for. So as long as the devil is hiding the details, the question remains, is that all you got? Are you sure? And when the answer is yes, and you've done all you can to prepare yourself for battle, then it's time to go forth and boldly face your enemy, the enemy within. Only now you must take that fight into the open, into hostile territory. You're a lion in a field of lions, all hunting the same elusive prey with a desperate starvation that says victory is the only thing that can keep you alive. So believe that voice that says you can run a little faster and you can throw a little harder, and that for you, the laws of physics are merely a suggestion. Luck is the last dying wish of those who want to believe that winning can happen by accident. Sweat, on the other hand, is for those who know it's a choice. So decide now, because destiny waits for no man. And when your time comes and 1,000 different voices are trying to tell you you're not ready for it, listen instead to that lone voice of dissent. The one that says you are ready, you are prepared. It's all up to you now. So rise and shine.
All right, rise and shine. Thanks, Ilja. Thanks, listeners. Adios, amigos.
All right.